Hey everybody, Andy here. Let's talk about episode 5 of the new X-Files miniseries titled Babylon. Now, this is the first episode written and directed by Chris Carter since the first episode, so it hasn't been that long, but since episode 1 of the new miniseries, this is the first one that Chris Carter is writing and directing again. So things are going to get juicy. So let's jump into it and find out. Alright, so it starts off on a Middle Eastern man, and he's praying. I'm assuming he's speaking Arabic, but I'm not sure. He's definitely Middle Eastern descent, and he's praying to Allah. So then after that, he goes through his daily routines. He makes some food. He gets in his car. It shows him kind of getting looks in the community. No one's really outright saying anything to him or ridiculing him. They're just kind of giving him looks and stuff. He then picks up another Middle Eastern man, and they get in the car and they're speaking Arabic. Again, I'm assuming it's Arabic. I'm not exactly sure. And they get in the car. They park the car. Then after they drive a little bit, then they park the car. They pray in the car together. They get out. They walk into a business. The business then explodes. So we are led to believe that they are terrorists to start. Alright, so the next scene is Mulder and Scully in the office, and Mulder is showing Scully videos of people miraculously hearing things out of nowhere, like in the air. People will just hear trumpets playing and other things like that. And there is no place where this sound is coming from. It's like it's coming from the heavens. And then they're interrupted by two young agents that come in. They vaguely resemble Mulder and Scully themselves, and I'm guessing that's for a reason. The young female agent has red hair, like Scully, and she's was in the show 6 Feet Under, which is an awesome show, by the way. You should check it out. But she is a young doctor, just like Scully, and she's very skeptical, I guess you'd say, of everything. And the young agent is, I think it was Agent Miller and Agent Einstein, which is kind of funny. Agent Miller was the male, and he's very open-minded, I guess you'd say. And he came to consult with Mulder because he thought maybe he'd have some knowledge or insight on the case that they're working on, where the suicide bombers from the beginning scene, one of them is apparently still alive. He's in a coma, and he's very badly injured, obviously, and his brain has been pretty much exploded. I guess this picture was pretty gruesome, but I guess he still has a heartbeat. So he was looking for someone that could speak with the near dead or people in comas, and he thought maybe Mulder would be able to help out with that. Okay, next scene is it shows Miller and Einstein in the airport, and they're kind of just speaking about their experience they just had with Mulder and Scully. When Agent Miller gets a phone call, and it happens to be Scully, actually, not Mulder, which is kind of funny. And she says she's holding the quarter that she had from the last episode from her mother, and she says she has an idea of how to communicate with the terrorist, and she said she'll meet him down in Texas, and he agrees. At the same time, Agent Einstein gets a phone call from Mulder, and he says that she needs to stay in Washington because he has an idea and he thinks it'll save lives. And the same thing, he has an idea of how to communicate with terrorists, but he wants her to stay in Washington. So it's kind of funny. They're going to the opposite. You thought that Mulder and Miller would go and Einstein and Scully would go there, but it's the opposite. So and I don't think any of them know that they're calling the other one. I don't think Mulder knows Scully's calling Miller, and I don't think Scully knows Mulder is calling Einstein. Next scene, it's been showing these two broadcasters, probably on like a Fox News or CNN network, arguing this whole time on the television in the background. So that might be significant. And again, it cuts to the next scene, and it shows them again arguing in the background. It pans over, and it shows a man making a homemade bomb. Alright, so now it shows Agent Einstein coming into Agent Mulder's office, and he pretty much explains that he wants that there was a study at a couple universities where people were administered this mushroom, and they were able to become like super enlightened. Even they felt like they spoke to God or angels and people on other planes, and some craziness of Mulder's always talking about. And basically, she says no, and they have banter back and forth, and she's very hard-nosed and very, very stubborn. Very stubborn. It's pretty almost infuriating, actually, to watch how stubborn she was. I don't remember Scully being that stubborn in the first few episodes. Anyways, she says no and storms out, but I'm assuming eventually she's going to get the drug for him because she's, a medical doctor. And he'll do this. And then we get to Agent Scully, who is with Agent Mulder. They're now in Texas with terrorists, and she's going to explain what she plans on doing. Now, Scully basically says that there was studies done where, I'm going to get the machines wrong and the medical terms, I'm sorry, but basically if you stick them in like an MRI or something like that, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly how she explained it, but basically there's a method where you could ask a man in a coma like this yes and no questions, and certain parts will light up in the brain, and basically showing that they can say yes or no to certain things. And they're going to perform this on the terrorist. Right after Scully explains this, two men enter the room, and they explain that the FBI no longer has jurisdiction, and that they need to leave and go away. The two men say that they're part of a Department of Homeland Security, and basically Miller and Scully say that they're not leaving the room. They've been assigned this case, and they do have jurisdiction. And the two men argue. Miller takes out his phone and he starts taking pictures of the people, and they pretty much don't let it happen, and they walk out and leave. I guess there was two guards at the door, because right when the two men left, Agent Einstein showed up and saw that that Scully was in the room, and she didn't know that Scully was down there, like I said earlier. So she looked pretty upset and pretty irked by this, and she's a fiery one, holy smokes, and she basically feels like she's been betrayed, I think. So she calls up Mulder and tells him to come down to Texas, basically saying that we're going to do this mushroom thing that you wanted. Alright, now, Agent Einstein meets Mulder at the airport, picks him up, and she said she has procured the mushroom pills. So they go to the hospital. On the way there, it shows Miller and Scully in the operating in the terrorist room. They're bringing in stuff, and then another agent comes in and says there was a bomb threat on the hospital. They say they're not leaving, but they do go out of the room quickly, and the nurse pretty much is basically gonna kill the patient, the terrorist. But right when she flicks off his breathing machine, and it goes off for a little bit, and then Mulder and Einstein enter the room, and she turns it back on real quick. Right when they walk in, you can tell that the nurse is very anti-Muslim, Islamic, whatever, anything that's not Texas. And at the same time, Mulder's putting the pills in his mouth. Agent Einstein gets the nurse to leave the room, and she closes the door. Mulder gets ready for the effects and sits down next to the terrorist. Okay, then all of a sudden it shows Mulder vanishes. Einstein doesn't know where he went, but apparently he's wandering around in a trippy state down the hallway, out in traffic, and he's wandering all over, and everything's all blurry. And then all of a sudden it shows him in a bar, like a Texas bar, where everyone's wearing cowboy hats and stuff and line dancing, and he's out there line dancing, and it's pretty funny. And it shows him at a table with like big old gangster rings on his hand to say mushroom on them, and it's pretty funny. And then it shows the lone gunman, which is pretty cool too. The shows quick lone gunman scenes in there, where the quick things of their face in this trippy state. Then all of a sudden Mulder is teleported, kind of like, and he's on a boat, and the cigarette smoking man is there, and he's whipping Mulder, and Mulder's got his shirt off, and he's getting whipped in the back by the cigarette smoking man. And he says something along the lines of, is this the truth you're looking for? Mulder turns around. The terrorist is at the front of the boat, being held by, I think it's the nurse. I could be wrong, but he's being held anyways. Mulder goes up to him, and he starts whispering things, and you can't understand him. Mulder leans forward, and he keeps whispering things to Mulder, and then it cuts to a room where an Islamic man is speaking Arabic. I should be saying Islamic extremist. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be too broad and say all Islamic is like this, because I know that's not true, just like there's Christian extremists. But anyways, he's speaking Arabic to a room, and it kind of pans out, and it shows that he's wearing a suicide vest, and then it spins around and shows there's like 10 other men there, all kind of wearing military garb, and they're all wearing suicide bomb vests, and then they all start chanting, and then it cuts. Alright, so from here on out we'll do spoilers. So if you don't want to know what happens at the end of the episode, go ahead and cut to the end of this video. Mulder then wakes up in the hospital. Backtracking, that's not the nurse that was holding the terrorist. It was his mother. And the reason why I know that is because the next scene, Mulder's leaving the hospital. He sees the woman outside that was holding him in his trippy dream. She brings him in. She starts talking to the man and the terrorist in the bed. And Mulder, Scully, Einstein, Miller, they're all there. Scully and Miller have this thing on his head, and they're trying to speak to the man and get him elicit a response through this device that Scully was trying to administer. Then the mother comes in, and all his brain waves are going crazy on the screen, and she's speaking to him, and then he ends up dying. Mulder's convinced he was trying to say something, and he says, "This is exactly how I saw it in my dream." Now, Mulder, Scully, Miller, and Einstein all walk out of the room. Mulder's saying he remembers what he was saying, but it was in Arabic, so he's trying to remember the exact words. Now, Miller speaks Arabic. You see that a little earlier in the episode, that he understands what people are saying in Arabic. Anyways, Mulder's trying to remember, and he's spitting out small phrases and pieces and kind of just muttering, and then all of a sudden he remembers exactly what it is, and I'm not going to even try to say it, but it's basically, it says Babylon the hotel. And they break into the hotel and smash windows, and they find those 10 terrorists. Those 10 terrorists that were speaking Arabic and chanting, and they were wearing the military camo garb and the bombs. After the terrorist plot was spoiled by the FBI, it then shows Miller and Einstein walking in the airport and kind of trying to talking about what happened. Kind of seeing that they've kind of learned something from this experience, and maybe they have more of an open mind and also have more of a realistic mind. It looks like they're going to meet in the middle somewhere and not really think so left and right for one another. They're going to kind of see, it seems like they'll work together pretty good next time. We then get Mulder that's back at his house out in the country, and he's looking in the mirror, and he notices that on his clavicle that he still has some of the bruises that he sustained through his dream, you guess. Scully then drives up, and they kind of recap what happened and kind of wonder how this all happened, because Agent Einstein apparently didn't give him the actual mushroom drop. She gave him a placebo. So how did all this affect him? Basically, he's saying that it's the power of suggestion. Power of suggestion is so strong that you will experience what you want to experience. Just like Mulder speculates that the power of suggestion really makes these young men put on these suicide vests for their god, for the men that convince them to do it. That suggestion is so powerful that it can make you do or believe anything. Scully then further goes on and says that as long as we open our hearts and listen, God will eventually give us what we need. And then all of a sudden you hear trumpets in the air, like Mulder was telling Scully about at the beginning, and only Mulder hears it. Scully doesn't hear it, and then it pans out. So that was Babylon, episode 5 of the new X-Files miniseries. The new characters were nice. They gave it a little spice. The interaction between Mulder and Scully was good always. Those two are excellent together. There really was no twist to this episode. That you really kind of knew what was going to happen. As soon as Mulder was talking about the mushrooms and going out of body, you knew that was going to happen. You knew that they were going to find these terrorists, and you knew that the terrorists in the hospital was going to end up helping them somehow or another, if it was going to be Mulder's way or Scully's way. There was no real twist to the story, which wasn't a bad thing. It's just not a typical X-Files. It was more of a beginning, middle, end, straightforward. And I think they were doing more just to introduce the characters. The two new characters, they're going to be in the next episode, the season finale, by the way, because I saw them in the preview. And it looks like it's going to be a wrap-up of the first episode. So all those characters from the first episode are going to come back. They're going to do the alien thing. There's going to be, it looks like, some kind of alien outbreak, like a disease. But we'll see that next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, this was a pretty good episode. It wasn't my favorite, but it was very good. It's worth watching, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. Anyways, guys, if you liked the video, you know what to do, all that YouTube stuff. And I thank you for watching. So I will check you later.